Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the IIM Vidyarthis. Meet the examiner and then get the exam tips for the students who are appearing for the board exams this year. And here we have Mrs. Sridevi, our speaker for the evening. Uh, and just an introduction to about Mrs. Sridevi. She has done her MA and MEd in English, and she's a seasoned educationist, having been in the profession for more than 3+ decades. And she was the principal of Vagdevi Villa School, and she has been in that role for the last 16+ years. And currently, she's the principal of Maitri Vidya Niketan. She has undertaken various works related to CBSE examination, like the head examiner for evaluation, CBSE observer, center superintendent for the conduct of board exams, CBSE representative for the All India EEE exams, member of the CBSE inspection committee for affiliation, etc. She has guided a number of junior teachers in her role as a senior educator. Welcome, ma'am, Sridevi ma'am, to IIM Vidyarthi program. And before you start the session, wish you a very happy Women's Day. Good evening, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lata, for that wonderful introduction. So I think our audience here today, the participants are a mixture of teachers, principals, and students. Okay.
Right.
More students are there, 1 or 2 teachers are there, that's all.
Okay, more of students, right. So anyway, what I'm going to tell you, first of all, good evening to all of you. And thanks for giving me this opportunity, Sumati, Lata, and Seema. So thanks for giving me this opportunity. And as Lata told right at the beginning, it's a very, very hot topic for this month. Most of the students are right now in the preparation level. And if things had been normal, by now the board exams would have started. But in this present situation, it's been put off, luckily for you, by about 1.5 months. So you get that additional 1.5 months time for your preparation. So that is something you need to be thankful about. And what I'm going to tell you is nothing new that you have not heard of before or anything. Most of these points, your teachers or your parents might have been telling again and again. But now is the time when you have to focus a little more on these tips that I'm giving you. With my wide experience of being in the CBSE for the last almost 25 years or so, I have found quite a few things that, children make mistakes, students make mistakes, and it is a little late for them by the time they realize. So a few things which you plan properly, when you plan properly, you will find that examination is a cakewalk. And as our PM Modi repeatedly keeps telling, examination is nothing but a festival celebrated. So we will end up going to a celebration because at the end of it, like everybody else, you're going to throw up the last exam, the papers of the last exam and say done for the year. But children, the 10th standard exam is your first step, the first step that you're going to take. And it's once you complete that, you're mature enough to take the remaining exams that come up your way. Whether you like it or not, life is full of examinations, some form or the other. And this 10th board exam is the first step that you're all going to take. And once you're successful in that, then you realize that it was hardly anything. Oh, after all, board exam was only this much, and I can do any number of exams after this. So keeping that in mind, let us just have a look at a few of the things that you need to keep in mind. So before I move on to the examination proper, there are a few general points that students, parents need to keep in mind. I always believe that how your mind is, that is how your work is going to be. If your mind is all cluttered, you're going to keep your entire place full of clutter. So first basic thing, be organized. So your study table, ensure that you keep it in a proper place. Your study place is where there is not much of disturbance. Keep it neat and tidy. I have found children who just scatter everything all around the table, thinking that they're all within reach. You can pull it out whenever you want. So you leave all your subject notes scattered, thinking that, okay, I start this and then I don't want it, then I will start the next or I'll start the other. That is not how you need to work at this last moment. This last 1.5 months, make yourself as organized as possible, both mentally as well as your place of work. That becomes very, very important. So if everything is organized and your schedules are organized, you will find that things can move at a better pace. And the most important thing, you know that the summer, this is a season for falling sick. Now, corona is one added to the list of illnesses that children generally fall prey to. So take care of your health. Avoid outside food, avoid unnecessary stuff, drink plenty of water, keep yourself hydrated. You will find that it will definitely help your brain to be sharper and you absorb much better whatever you're reading. Keep yourself hydrated. The moment you feel sick or you get a stomachache or a headache, most of them are psychological, of course, you find that your ability to concentrate comes down. You're not able to concentrate, you're not able to put your full effort in it. So please, children, do take care of your health and avoid outside food as much as possible, because when a child is sick, you can neither prepare, nor when you go for the exam are you allowed to mingle with others. So you get isolated, and all this has got a lot of damaging effect on your psyche. So please keep yourself healthy, keep yourself safe. And again, plan a revision schedule and stick to it. Now, how do you plan your revision schedule? Two things. One is, how are you going to plan the time when you're going to study? So is it, we call it an owl, habits of an owl or habits of a sparrow. An owl is something that can sit up till late in the night and work throughout the night, and it sleeps during the day. So are you an owl where you can study till late into the night and then take a short sleep, and then again, you are better at studying late at night? Or are you a sparrow which gets up early in the morning and can study? Okay, the sparrow gets up very, very early and it's very, very bright at that time. Similarly, there are students who can stay up till late in the night and study, or there are students who need their full quota of sleep, but they can get up very early in the morning, say till 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, when their mind is fresh, and then they are able to study. So this is something that you have to know for yourself, what kind of student you are. Are you an owl or a sparrow when it comes to revising now? And stick to it. Your biological clock will automatically adjust to this, and you have to stick to these timings, whatever you plan. And of course, the number of hours you study. Morning, how many hours are you able to put in your study? How many hours in the evening you're able to do? Now, if you're having your online classes, if you're continuing with it, how much time do you spend for it? And your revision time is your own. And do not get confused with your revision time with your tuition time. That is entirely different. The tuition is entirely different. Other than that, what is the time that you're going to study on your own? That is what is important. And that many hours you need to set aside. And once you know the number of hours per day that you're going to study, then divide your lessons according to easy, difficult, or what you know or what you don't know. I have a habit. If I find that out of 10 lessons, 4 are very easy for me, then I spend very less time on it and very quickly finish it. So I know that 4 are out of my mind. I need to concentrate only on the remaining 6. So according to the percentage of the difficult lessons or the easy lessons, the known lessons, the unknown lessons, you plan your schedule based on that. Make a proper revision schedule. And you say, okay, from morning 6 to 7, this is what I'm going to do. Again, there are children who continue with one subject for a period of maybe 2 days, 3 days, or 4 days. They finish maximum, put it aside, then take up another subject. Or maybe the kind of a student who wants variety. So morning I'm doing mathematics, afternoon I prefer something else, evening I prefer some other subject. Each of these depends on your own individuality. There is no hard and fast rule on what you have to do. So plan your schedule according to what is most comfortable to you. And allocate your timings according to that. All the easy lessons get done, and then you move on to the difficult. Or since I know the easy ones, I will put it off till the end. I will finish all the difficult ones, and then I am happy and I can finish off the easy ones. It all depends on you and how you do it. Again, there are some children who need to move up and down when they are studying. They cannot sit at a place. There are others who do not want any disturbance, who do not want any movement. They have to sit at one place, study continuously for about 2 hours, then take a short break and then come back. Again, there is no hard and fast rule. So you plan your time, you plan how you're going to study, plan the schedule that you're going to do, divide your lessons, and then you can study based on that. And as you are studying, my sincere advice to children, especially where you have science or social science, when you're revising for that, make short points or notes. In my experience, I've seen that children hardly have the habit of making notes. Just in your textbook and on the side, what is the important point over there? Do a mind map with all the important points. Most of you have been taught mind mapping in your classes. So do a mind map of a full lesson. Now, why I insist on this is, at the end, when you're going into the examination hall, you don't have to flip through pages to see what you have studied, where that point is. Your mind map or the points will show you very clearly what you need to look at the last minute. So for your last minute revision, this making note or points will be very helpful. So now onwards, as you are revising, please start doing it. You will find it very, very useful at the end. When you start doing your sample papers, plan your section-wise time. Section A, 1 mark. How much time can I take? It may differ for different subjects. The section, each of the sections, it may differ for different subjects. So according to the sample papers, you do a sample paper. You answer it for 3 hours, and then you know how much time you need. Many a time children make a mistake. They go on and on with one particular section, not realizing how much time they are spending on it. So at the end, when you come back, you are rushed into completing the last 1 or 2 portions. Supposing there are 3 sections, 1 mark questions, 3 mark questions, 5 mark questions. If there are 3 sections, the 1 mark doesn't require much of your time. You only have to spend very less time on it, maybe about half an hour for your 15 or 20 questions that are given, finish it. If you have not finished, still leave the space and move on to your next section. Go to section B, 3 mark questions. It requires about 1 hour. Try and finish it within that 1 hour. Then your 5 mark questions may require around 1.5 hours. You set your time. You still have half an hour to spare. So half an hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hours. So when you're doing this, the last 10 or 15 minutes that is left out, you will definitely be able to plan your revision over there. You can revise the entire paper and edit. You can check out what you have left or what you did not know, you could go back to it. So children, sincere advice to you, do the sample papers in a serious manner. Take it like a proper test, work out the sample papers, and then plan your schedule, plan your time according to the different sections of your paper. Right? Now, before entering the exam hall, this is as far as your revision goes. So the points at your revision, we saw you, each one according to your habit, you plan your time, you plan your schedule, you divide the lessons according to difficult, average, easy, and you spend your time according to that. Now, once all your revision is done, you're all very confident, you're going to enter your examination hall. Again, very important, leave early and reach the center at least 1 hour before the time. Now, most of the time we get angry when people at home tell us, you go, leave early. But till the nth moment you're sitting, you want to revise, you want to do this or you want to do that, and you are not able to go on time. Last year, in fact, we had when I was a center superintendent for the board exam of 10th standard, we had 2 children who could not come to the center on time. And a very strict rule is you should be inside the room 15 minutes before the exam starts, in the campus at least half an hour before the exam starts. So after which we have to lock up the gate, and as SEMTA superintendent, we have to show that the gate is locked, and that is recorded and sent to the board, that at that particular time, the gate is locked. And then these children came running almost 15 minutes later. Unfortunately, we could not help them at all. They gave all the excuses possible that, there was a bus, there was a traffic jam or whatever. And in Bangalore, traffic jams are very, very common. And wherever you are, traffic jams are common during exam time. So avoid all that kind of rush. Go 1 hour before, it doesn't matter. Even if you reach at 9 o'clock to your center, it doesn't matter. Just go relax over there. You will find it helps you a lot to calm your mind and to relax. Rushing into your examination hall, with a lot of tension will not help you at all. Next is to revise calmly using the points you have made. Avoid carrying all your textbooks and notebooks. When you are not organized, till the last minute, you want to take your textbooks with you. It gives you some kind of a confidence. Carrying your notebooks and your textbooks with you gives you a kind of confidence. You feel that by carrying it with you, everything is fine. No, if you're organized and you have studied everything, you just have to leave your books, carry your small sheet, a letter pad in which you would have made your notes. Last minute, just flipping through it will help you to revise the entire chapters. Again, I'm telling you, more than in mathematics, this is especially helpful for your social science, where there are a lot of facts to be studied, in your languages, where the titles of lessons, the characters or the character sketch, those have to be studied. So during all this time in your science, where maybe some experiments and other things that you have to study, the points for different topics that you need to know, it will help you just to go through these points. Because in the exam, nobody is going to test you for a long thesis that you have written. So when we evaluate you during the exam time, we only evaluate you for the points that you have written. Nobody is bothered if you have written 5 pages and 10 pages. Children generally are of the wrong idea that the heavier your papers are, the more supplementary sheets you use, the more marks you're going to get. That is not at all true, because I've been a chief examiner. It's not at all true. We only look for brief answers with the important points. And when I say that, I also want to tell you, underline all the important points. Whatever the important point which you have made your note on, you know that that is the key point. Underline those keywords and the key points, that is enough. So avoid carrying all your textbooks and notebooks, whatever you have. Anyway, within 10 minutes, you're going to leave it outside the room. It's not going to come into the room with you at all, right? And again, very important, don't listen to what your friends keep discussing about their preparation. Hey, Da, what did you study? Hey, I did not study this. What did you? It's not going to help you. Whatever you have studied, you revise. When you listen to somebody else asking you, in that chapter, did you do that particular one, and you have not done it, you get panicky. Then what you do, you start trying to study that at the last minute, cram something in, and something you had planned to revise, you will end up forgetting. So don't get carried away by what your friends are discussing about their own preparation. That is their lookout. What you have prepared well, look into that. If whatever your friend says, that question or that question seems to come later, don't worry. There must be some other question that you can answer much better than them. So don't worry about what your friends are discussing. Whatever you have revised, study only that. And avoid any last minute studying of any new topic. It is not going to help you. You will just get confused. And even in mathematics, I find till the nth moment, children just try to keep doing something and finding out any formula, or somebody else tells a formula and you forget what you have studied. So avoid all this. What you know, you know. Nothing is going to change in the examination hall. You will remember all that when you go in. So avoid any as last minute study. And very important, again, check your pockets and your stationery pouch for any unwanted papers before entering the room. So once you are caught with a bit of paper on you, you are debarred. So check your pockets properly. Your stationery pouch, we generally advise children to carry a transparent pouch with all your pens and pencils in it. So avoid carrying anything other than this to your room. If you're caught with any paper, You don't have a chance of telling it was there inside my pocket by mistake, or I was revising and I left it in, whatever. Nobody is going to listen to you. So these are the points that you need to remember before entering your examination hall. Then children, the important tips when you are in the hall, when you start answering your paper. When you go in, the invigilators will give you detailed instructions. Please listen to that carefully. Again, we have seen when the invigilators are giving the instructions, the children keep doing something else, or they are in their own world, they don't pay heed. Then what happens? Each year, there are different ways in which the roll numbers need to be written. Sometimes they change the rules of how the roll number needs to be written. For example, last year they had just told the first box to be left blank and then the numbers to be written. And it is not only writing the numbers, you also have to shade. In the sheet that is given, you have to shade the OMR sheet. You have to shade the numbers according to your roll numbers. So the first column says your roll number starts with 1. Then in the first column, you're shading 1. And in the second number of your roll number happens to be 0, then you shade 0. Then if the third number happens to be 6, you have to shade the number 6 in the OMR sheet. All this keep changing. These instructions keep changing at times. So you have to listen to what the invigilators say, how they want you to write the roll numbers, what are the different rules for that particular year. So please listen to them carefully, and then you follow all these when you're writing it. So once you receive the question paper, you're given 15 minutes reading time. The question paper would be sealed and you have to cut it open neatly. And in detention, generally children tear the paper, they tear the seal, so much so that the question paper tears. No need to panic. You have got 15 minutes of reading time. Once you get the paper, just close your eyes for a few seconds, take deep breaths, relax yourself, and then neatly use your scale to cut open the paper. When you do this, you will find that your hands will not be shivering. You will not feel any panic, and calmly you can read the questions, and for 15 minutes full, you can read the paper very, very calmly. So go through the paper, and of course, all sections will have options or choices given. Mark what you want to answer. Other than that, you cannot make any other mark on your question paper. You're not allowed to write your number or your name or the answers or anything. Even with a pencil, you cannot scribble on a paper. So go through your paper and just mark which are the options, A or B, which is the one you want to answer. Later on, as you're answering, you may change your mind. But the moment you look at the paper, you will know, okay, I know this better than the other one. Out of 6, you have to answer 4. Just tick the 4 that you need, the 4 that you have selected. So you choose your options very carefully. And one more thing, what children end up doing, the moment they get the paper, they turn around, look at their friends, they give a thumbs up or they give a thumbs down, or, they start smiling to show whether the paper is easy or tough or how they are feeling. Not necessary. When you come out, you're going to discuss the paper. So don't see your friend's reaction to the paper. If there is somebody who says, thumbs up, paper is really easy, and he's smiling widely, and you have found a few questions difficult, your heart will sink into your boots. So don't do that. Don't turn around. The paper is yours. You have your paper. Just look into it. That's all. Don't turn around and look somebody with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Not required. You know to your heart whether you know all the answers or not, how much of it you can answer comfortably, right? And of course, there would be instructions given on when you need to start answering. So at that time, you answer. So the 15 minutes of your reading time, just spend it reading. In your languages especially, you may have passages. You would have long passages for answering. For example, in English, there would be 2 long passages that you have to read. So later on, you may not get that much time to read. So spend that 15 minutes reading those passages carefully. I know that the same is there in all the languages, your second language also. So read those passages carefully. Try to find out what the answers are. And without marking anything, keep yourself ready to answer. when we are correcting the papers, we find that children who are disorganized jump from one section to another section. For example, they answer a 1 mark question about 3 or 4. They do not know something. They panic. They go to section B where there are 2 mark questions or 3 mark questions. They answer those. And then suddenly they jump back to a 1 mark question. The disadvantage of that there is you are not able to write the proper question numbers. And when you jump from one to the other, the person who is examining your paper, the person who is evaluating your paper, when they see a 2 mark question under a 1 mark question, they would mark you for 1 marks. It is a human nature. When our mindset, when we are correcting the paper, is that all these number of questions belong to 1 mark category, or these belong to the 2 mark category or the 5 mark category. So when you are jumbling the questions from the different sections, you will find that the person who's correcting it, they also get jumbled. Their mind is also confused. So when you have answered a 3 mark question, they may give you mark it only for 2, they may mark it for 1, and you are the loser. So please don't do that. Don't jumble. You answer the complete section. If you do not know something in section A, leave adequate space for it. And then you feel that you want to go on to this next section, move on. Then come back to this section if you want to answer. And when options are asked or when choice questions are there, number the questions correctly in your answer sheet. So write the question numbers and options very, very clearly. Don't overwrite. Sometimes children lose marks because they write a 2, they try to make it a 3, and the examiner doesn't know whether they have answered question number 2 or question number 3, and we just score it out. Always remember, the people who are evaluating your answer scripts are doing it from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the evening, almost 30 to 35 papers. They may not have the patience to decipher what you are writing over there. If you're doing an overwriting, we will not have the time or the energy to look into the mistakes of the question numbers. So if a question number is wrong, the answer is just scored out. No marks are given. So please don't overwrite question numbers and don't make a mistake in the section-wise question numbers, what you are writing. And one misconception of students is that if you answer more number of questions, you will, by default, the examiner will give you marks for everything. It doesn't happen. Choose only the right number of questions. If you have to answer only 4, write only 4, because only the first 4 that you have answered will be considered. The 5th and the 6th, even if you have answered it thinking you will get more marks, we are only going to score it out. So choose the ones that you know best and answer them correctly. Don't think that by answering either or, leaving the option to the examiner, they are not going to see the options. They will only mark you for the first one you have written. If it is wrong, it is wrong. The second one is scored out or not evaluated at all. So children, be careful. Don't assume that answering more number of questions will, by default fetch you more marks. You will only lose marks that way, because strict instructions are given to the evaluators to evaluate only those questions that are answered at the beginning. So the additional questions are not calculated at all. And if it is your mathematics paper or the science physics paper where you have to make any calculations, you have to do rough work, do it neatly to one side of the paper. Don't mix it up with the answers you are writing. You leave a column for it and you have your rough work done neatly over there. And as I mentioned earlier, if you don't know some answer, put the question number and don't waste time over it. On questions that you don't know or you're confused about, don't waste too much time over it. Leave the space over there. Move on to the next question or the next section. And later on, as I told you, when you're putting your paper, the last 15 minutes is for revision. You can come back to it and you will find that you will definitely remember the answer to that. When you waste more time there, you're not able to concentrate on the next one. You keep thinking and going back to the one that you didn't know. So your mind is divided in two. The one that you don't know, where you're trying to recollect some point, and the one where you're trying to answer. So you leave that part aside. You will have plenty of time to come back to it at the end. And then you move on to the ones that you know well, so you can concentrate and finish it. And when you're taking supplementary sheets, see that you number your supplementary sheets. You have to number it. And when you are at the end, if you're taking more number of supplementary sheets, especially in mathematics, it happens, it makes it easy for you to tie up the paper. Children, this being your first board exam, it is natural for you to be nervous. So I have seen children who are so nervous at the end because their papers are scattered all over. It is not numbered. The supplementary sheets are scattered. Then they try to put it together. And once the bell goes, then the examiners just tell you, put down your pens and hand over the paper. That's all. They try to gather all the papers. They make a mistake. They are not able to tie it properly. Their hands are shivering. They are not able to knot it properly, or they do it wrong. They are not able to open the knot, and they have to redo it. It's an unnecessary tension and a waste of time. So as you take your supplementary sheets, immediately write your roll number and whatever details required there, and you arrange it. And as you are writing it, one sheet the other, you put it in an organized manner. So when you finish, you just have to pick it up, cross-check whether all the numbers are in order, the papers are ordered properly, and punch it and tie it up. So till the nth moment, if you're writing, you're not able to do all this. Okay, so number the supplementary sheets for easy arrangement at the end. And finally, when you're revising the paper at the end of the exam, have your question paper with you. Don't be overconfident thinking, yeah, I know I have answered everything. There are times when at the last minute, children come out and realize that, oh, I had not answered that, or I thought that was a choice. So revise the paper using your question paper. Look at the question, the number of questions that you need to answer, the choice that is given, and check your answer sheet to see whether you have written it. Revise the question so that you will know whether you have written everything properly. And I have found children, when we are correcting the papers, they give an instruction to the examiner at the end. Madam, I am having a lot of problem. So please see that you promote me. Please see that you pass me. Don't fail me. Madam, I am praying to 100 gods that you and your children should be very fine. And please pass me. Don't fail me. No madam or sir in the examination hall who is doing the correction is going to help you. Every year we see this kind of instructions that are given to the examiner at the end of the exam. Please, 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 please. You know, it goes on. It is not necessary. If you have prepared well, if you have answered well, and if you're confident, you don't need to go around begging anybody to give you marks, right? I'm a teacher myself. And if somebody were to come to me at the end of the board exam and beg me for marks, I will only get angry, right? I'm not going to feel sorry for anybody because you have done enough preparation. You have done enough work. Your teachers have struggled. They have done so much of revision for you. Your parents have struggled. They have supported you throughout the year. Now, what is the need to go around with a begging bowl for marks? So don't leave such instructions for the examiners. They will only get angry. As I told you, when we are correcting papers from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening, and yours happens to be the last paper at the end of the day when we are totally tired and we see some instructions given like this, we can only get angry. We are not going to feel sorry for you. So don't think that all your personal problems, if you're going to summarize and put at the end of the paper, you're going to get your marks. That's never going to happen. So concentrate on doing better things rather than writing things like this. And usually at the end, we find that children forget to tie the supplementary sheet or the graph papers, the maps, whatever is given. This is a must. You have to do it. Sometimes after the exam is over, children come back running into the exam room and say, I left my graph sheet or I left my map inside the desk. Can I please take it and tie it again? See, we are human beings. We do feel sorry for you, but rules do not permit a child to come back into the exam hall to do something like that. Rules do not permit us to allow anybody to take whatever they have left out and tie it later on. So children, if, again I use the word, if you are organized, all these problems will not come. Once you answer your map, you know that it is there at the end of your answer booklet. Once you answer your graph, you know that the sheet is kept inside and this is where it is. The supplementary sheets are all ready with you. All you need to do is tie them up, then cross-check. that everything is there. You don't have to search in the last minute for something that you have left. Again, try and open the knot. You would have knotted the sheets so very tightly, you will not be able to open it. No, then you just struggle to open it so that you can push in one more paper, something that you have forgotten. Don't do all those things. Okay. And of course, at the end, check your desk before leaving. Invariably, children leave either the stationery, their pouch, or the hall ticket, more important. There are so many instances every year when we pick up hall tickets and we keep it carefully and wait for the child to come the next day, or after 3 or 4 days when the next exam is, they come with crying face and say, I think I left my hall ticket inside the desk. So this hall ticket is something very, very important. And you cannot afford to leave it here and there, because the next day there may be a 12th standard exam going on. So they would be using the same desks. So somebody might carry it off from there. So don't give room for all this. Check your desk before leaving for whatever you may have kept inside, your stationery, your hall ticket, or anything else that you have left behind. Check properly and then take it. And sometimes when you're having optional subjects where only fewer children are there. For example, there may not be many students in a center for a Sanskrit exam or a physical education exam. So at that time, we are likely to change the rooms to accommodate all the children in 1 or 2 rooms as per the requirement. So especially when you are having optional subjects, vocational subjects, or language which many children will not be taking, be alert, go early on the day to check out your new room numbers. Invariably, the room would have changed. If you are reaching the examination venue at exactly 10 o'clock, you hardly have time to go running and search for your room, because you go straight to the room, you find it locked. The room where yesterday you wrote your social science and today you're going for your Sanskrit, you go to the room and the social science room is locked, you start panicking because the bell would have gone. You don't know where others have gone. So you start panicking. So your whole mood is offset. So be alert, go early, especially during these days, go early, check out on the board that is displayed, whether the rooms have changed, whether the room numbers have changed. If you relax and do it, definitely you will not have any problem. And again, very important, children, don't allow the performance of one paper to affect your preparation for the next one. So today, if I have not done well, I cannot keep brooding over it so that I'm not able to prepare for the next one. What is done is done. Understand, you cannot do anything. You cannot rectify it. Your paper was tough. It was your bad luck, or something you have made a mistake somewhere and you're not going to get the 100 that you were looking for. Doesn't matter. Leave it. It is over and done with. Come back to the present. Whatever you have planned for the next paper, continue with that. Don't allow the performance of one paper or a feedback of one paper to affect your preparation for the next one. Sometimes when you come out, you start discussing the answers. You have written something, your friends will say, hey, not this, I have written that. Then you're getting confused. It doesn't matter. Don't break your head with that. Whether you're right or your friend is right does not matter at all. Just come out, leave yourself. I always tell my students when they are going, please don't discuss the papers with anybody. Come back to school and discuss it with your teachers. They will let you know.
Ma'am, can we start from section D?
Yes, sir. If you can start from whichever of the sections you want, but ensure that the entire section you complete before moving to the other section and label it correctly. If you can start with section D, but label it correctly, write section D, write the question numbers correctly and finish that, then move on to section A if you wish, and then to B or C. But the numbers should be right. And after completing D, don't say that I've forgotten something and then write it at the end again. Say continuation of section D, one arrow mark goes from page to the end. Or one instruction to the examiner, look for the last answer at the end of the paper. Don't do all that. Complete that section, whatever you're dealing with, and then move on to the next one. Okay? And as I was telling you, don't allow any discussions with your friends to affect you. Last year, I had some students who came back and said, ma'am, I don't think I'm going to get good marks in mathematics because the others have used this formula. I have used this formula or whatever. It didn't matter ultimately because both the formulae or whatever it was given in the answer key which the examiners had, and they were able to mark both the children right. So all these are not for you to break your head about. The examiners will look into everything, and if you have answered correctly, then you need not worry about anything. And remember one thing, nobody wants to deliberately fail you in an exam or give you less marks. So don't go with the mistaken notion that I am going to get less. I know that these people have something against me. I know that I am going to fail. These are all negative thoughts that you need to remove from your head even before you go into the examination hall, even before, in fact, you start your preparation, you start your revision. Have a positive mindset. I know if I am a 40%er, I know that I'm going to get 60. If I am a 60%er, I know that I'm going to get 80, and I know that I'm going to get full marks. So start with that mindset. Don't say that I have been failing throughout my schooling. I've been failing throughout my 10th in this particular subject, and I'm sure that I'm not going to pass in this subject. That kind of a mindset is not going to help you at all. So dear children, just remember, nobody wants to deliberately fail you unless you want to fail yourself by being negative and by doing the wrong things. Nobody wants to give you less marks. Out there, when we are examining your papers, when we are evaluating your papers, we want the best for all the children. We keep thinking of it that way. Okay, maybe this child wanted to answer it this way, but then couldn't do it. Doesn't matter. Let us give him that 1 mark out of 2. So that is the mindset with which examiners sit. So if you are doing the best that you have, with all the revision that you have done, definitely everything is going to go smoother. And as I said, when you are writing, the presentation is very, very important. If your handwriting is very bad, if your presentation is very bad, the examiners will not be in the mood to even read. In your schools, your teachers know you well. So they know, okay, he is actually good. Maybe in a hurry, he wrote in a very careless manner, or because he was, in a 10th step, he would have scribbled the answer. So let me try to, find out the answer here and there and give him marks. But the board exam, it doesn't go that way. We are only evaluating. We just have a look. And if it is a person like me who hates bad handwriting, then I'm sorry for the children whose papers come to me, right? So you cannot afford to scribble in your papers. Write neatly, present it well, leave a line after your answers. If you still have time, draw a line after the answers are done. And don't, put arrow marks from here to there, and you have to turn the answer paper and then read the rest of the points over there. Don't do all that. Plan it properly. Then you will find that definitely your presentation is important. There are times when we have seen children who may not have written very good answers, but whose presentation is perfect. Very neat handwriting. All the points, right or wrong, all the points are underlined beautifully. They have given point wise, 1, 2, 3, 4, or they give bullet points, everything. And they have done much better, and they have got good marks also. So my own students, again, as an example, I can give you, where we know for certain that these children do not know these answers well. They may not have written properly, but they come and say, after the results are announced, I got 65, I got 70, and we are shocked. But their presentation has been good there. So when they have done it neatly and in a systematic manner, obviously it leaves a very good impression. So children, what I always say, success comes with good planning and sincere effort from your side. Be confident and be truthful to yourself. Don't keep your book open in front for the sake of your mother, for the sake of your father, for the sake of your teacher. Be truthful to yourself. What you're doing is for yourself, not for somebody else. You're the one who's going to be successful. You're the one who's going to get admission into good colleges of your choice, into good, subjects according to your choice. So you are not a second-hander, what nobody else wants, you don't have to take, provided you're truthful to yourself, you plan well, you put in all your best efforts, and self-confidence is a must. Don't go with any negative thoughts, as I said. Go with the self-confidence. At the same time, self-confidence is different from overconfidence. Overconfidence is when your mother says, did you study? You say, I know everything. You don't have to tell me. That is the trend nowadays. I know everything. Yes, you may know everything, but do you know the right thing? What is required? That is what is important. So be confident. That confidence comes when you have prepared well. That overconfidence comes when you have not prepared, but you think you know everything. So be confident, be honest to yourself, prepare properly, and definitely you would be assured of success. So nothing is impossible. As Nelson Mandela said, it seems impossible until it is done. So a journey of 1,000 miles, with one step, you have to start somewhere. And your 10th board exam is the first step you're taking for your lifelong journey into education. And definitely with proper planning and with your experience of what your teachers have taught you, what the revision that has been happening and everything, definitely you're all going well. So I wish all of you the very best for your preparation for the coming examination. You still have a lot of time. 1.5 months time is there. So if you're CBSE students, May 4th is your exam. And if the other boards, it is, I think, the second week of May. So definitely you can all do well. Right? Today, after this, take out your lessons, check, as I said, what you know, what you don't know. Divide your time according to how much time you need for each of the chapters, how many days you require, how much time you have. Day-wise, you split it up. Hour-wise, you split it up. And definitely, you will all be successful. So thank you so much for your patient hearing. And if there are any questions, I'm ready to take.
Thank you, ma'am. It was really, really a wonderful session. And I think as a
Thank you.
parent, I learned far more today than I sent both my kids to the board exams. Yeah, students, do you have any questions to ask, ma'am? Ma'am is ready. Otherwise, I'll call out the students just so to check whether you have understood what the instructions that ma'am has given. Balarka, are you here? Balarka.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes. Can you just say a couple of things that you're going to take away from the session today, Balarka?
So, like ma'am said, you have to stay calm before the exams. Do not panic. Keep yourself organized at all times. Revise your chapters continuously. Don't be overconfident. So yeah, basically be organized in yourself. Organize yourself properly. Yeah.
So that's your takeaway. All right. Inchara, are you here? What are the other things what is your takeaway from this session? Inchara.
Ma'am, I would keep my things all organized, like ma'am said, and I would not forget bringing my hall ticket to the school and coming to school before 1 hour fast, and not listening to friends in the last moment and learning, and still more things, ma'am.
Nice. So please do remember this. Dhruti, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So what is your takeaway from this session, Dhruti?
Ma'am, it's basically whatever everyone else told, but the main thing is we have to maintain decorum when we are at the examination hall. And also we have to stay tidy and be clear with all our concepts. We shouldn't be confused with any concept, and we have to just stay calm and do our best.
Super nice. Bhavna, what is it that once ma'am was mentioning about handing over an answer script? What are the things that you would remember when you're handing over answer script? Bhavna?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you there? Yeah. Can you just say, do you remember what ma'am mentioned? I'm just trying to say that you can recall all of this. It's not complex.
Yes, ma'am. We have to number the additional sheets.
Right.
And we have to draw lines after each answers. And without forgetting, we have to tie our graph sheets and maps.
Right. Very true.
And we have to write our full details, roll number and all.
Right. Right.
That's all, ma'am. And we have to tag according to the number wise.
Okay. Okay. Rashmi, anything else that which you remember from ma'am, which other people, your friends have not mentioned? Rashmi, are you there? Okay, anyone else who wants to ask ma'am question? Ma'am is here. It all sounds very difficult, but it is not. As long as you remember all the points, it'll all come together when you go for the exam. Yeah, go ahead. Someone saying, you can go unmute yourself and please go ahead and ask.
Hi, Lata. This question is for Sridevi, ma'am.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Ma'am, you said about the rough work in mathematics. What is advisable? The rough work should be beside the answer, I mean, while answering the question, or should it be in a separate sheet or at the back of the sheet? What is advisable? The rough work in mathematics.
Yeah. See, there are two things. One, I find it very practical to have the rough work right next to the questions that you're answering. Just draw a line, have a column. It helps you to refer back. But at times, there is no separate sheet that is given. You have to answer at the last sheet of your paper and start doing it, which means as you're working out, you have to keep turning back and forth. So practically, it is easier for you if you have the rough sheet as a column right next to where you're answering. Just draw a line and start doing on one side of it, like your ruled notebooks that you get, where there is a rough work column, what we call. So similarly, when you do it, you find that referring back is easier, especially when you're revising and you have made a mistake somewhere and you want to refer back. When you go back, you will have to really search for where you have done the rough work for that particular question. It can be a little jumbled up at the end. So if it is right next to the problem that you're answering, you will find that it is definitely easier for you, especially during your revision. If you have made a small totaling mistake or anything like that, easier for you to find out when it is right next to the problem, right?
Yeah, ma'am. Understood. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ma'am, if I'm like doing the section D or the main D, so if I don't know one question in that, I don't want to sit thinking about it, and I want to do it at the last. So can I do it?
What I suggest is within that section, you know how much space you need for that answer, whether it is 2 lines, whether it is 4 lines, whether it is 10 lines, leave that much space. And then you move on to the next one. At the end, you can always come back and redo it, right? That will help you because one, you're not going to forget. Sometimes in your tension, something you will think of answering later, you will end up forgetting. This way you cannot forget. You will come back to it during your revision and you will say, oh God, I've left this. And then immediately you can complete it. So the last 15 minutes is for all this. But if you're going to wait till the end and then go back to it at the end, right at the end of your sheet, you may forget it, or the examiner may give you different set of marks. They may not mark you according to whatever section, whatever marks belong to that particular section. Chances of human error is there. So always I advise, leave that space. How many lines you require, you leave that space and you can always come back to it, to that same place again, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Leave a little more space, it is always better. And whatever space you don't use at the end, you can score it out. That's all. So there is no confusion.
Thank you, ma'am. It was very helpful.
Anyone else has got any other questions?
And regarding the SST social studies exam,
Yeah.
so is it a good idea to attach the map between the answer sheets so it doesn't get lost? Or
Usually, yeah. Usually these, the instructions will be given to you by your examiner, by your invigilator. The last sheet, after you finish answering, you still have about 3 or 4 sheets that are blank. Don't tie it over there. The last question that you have answered, you have to insert your map immediately after that and then tie it up. Those instructions will be given to you by your invigilators, which is why I did not touch upon it here. Whenever the last section, the last answer is over, immediately after that, you have to attach your sheet, the map, or if there is any additional graph sheet or anything given, only there you will have to attach it.
all right, thank you.
I have another question, Lata, if it's okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, to Sridevi, ma'am. Ma'am, in biology particularly, if there's a 3-marker or 5-marker answer, let's say, but it does not specifically say do the diagram. But if I have time and I know the diagram, does it make sense? Is it an advantage to do the diagram, or if it is not asked specifically, I can avoid it?
If it is not asked specifically, you can avoid. But if you want to get your full 3 marks, you can still draw the diagram, provided you have the time for it. Don't waste time. Biology, the diagrams can be pretty difficult. It can take a little time, but if you have the time, please do draw it. It will help you to get the full 3 marks if the rest of it is correct. But yeah, if you do not have time, absolutely not a necessity when it is not asked in the paper.
Yeah, that's what I said. If I can manage time, it's better, you saying.
Yes, it is better you draw it. It gives a good impression. As I said, presentation matters.
Yeah.
And the diagram, whether even in a physics, when you do the diagram or whatever else you have to write over there, maybe a table or whatever, it gives a good presentation. It's an addition to the answer. So where if it is a 3 marker and your written work may fetch you 2, the diagram may fetch you the additional 1.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Showing that you know it, you know the concept. That is what we are looking at there. We are not exactly looking at other things. We are just checking whether you know the concept or not in your board exam. So this will make it clear and you will get your full 3 marks.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
For every, the examiners, when we are correcting the paper, we are given what is called an answer key. So all the possible value points for a particular answer is given to us. Out of which, for a 2 marker, we expect 2 points. 2 points over there. For a 3 marker, we may expect 3 or 4 points. For a 5 marker, 5 points. It is divided and given to us. So based on those value points, we may have around 10 value points. You may answer just 3 or 4 out of those. You will get your full marks, provided the value points, whatever you have given, are correct and they reflect in my answer key. Okay, so all of us have an answer key. So whatever the number of points that are there for a particular answer, just list it out. As I said, your note making helps you here. Make all those points. Then according to, if it comes in a 2 marker, choose the 2 or 3 important points and put them. If it is a 3 marker, you choose the 4 points to put in, or the entire, all the points for your 5 marks. That is making it organized, which is why making notes is very important. When Lata was asking you about what did you learn, nobody said about, madam told us to make notes, make points. That is very important. Okay, note making is very important. Beside your lesson, your classwork, or in your textbook, you can mark in a pencil or separate sheets. You have a letter pad in which you just start, a rough notebook, in which you start making notes chapter wise. You will find it helps you a lot to get clarity on what you have to write.
Excuse me, ma'am. Sorry.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, tell me, Hardik.
Ma'am, why do we get panic as when we see the question paper?
I did not get your question. Could you repeat it, please?
Ma'am, why do we get panic as when we see the question paper?
Why do you panic, is it? You don't have to panic. And you're in the 12th standard, so I don't think you need to panic at all. You've already experienced one board exam. And if you know everything, there's no panic. As I said, just keep your paper upside down on the table, close your eyes, think of whatever God you want, whatever power you want. Just take deep breath. And then you open your paper. I don't think there is any question of panic at all. I will assure you 100% of that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Panic comes when you're not prepared and when you have self-doubt. Remove the self-doubt. You just go in calmly, close your eyes for a few seconds, and I'm not calling it meditation, I'm not calling it prayer. Just take deep breaths and relax. You will not panic. Definitely, Hardik, you will think of me when you're opening your paper.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I have a doubt. Can I ask?
Yes, tell me.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a 12th grade student. And ma'am, since you spoke about the 1 markers in math, right, ma'am? So
Yeah.
today we had our Sahodaya math paper.
Okay.
So I discussed it both with my class school teachers as well as my tuition teachers, and the 1 markers which came, since the paper pattern changed this year, the 1 markers which were taken, it's not MCQs, it's like subjective 1 markers, which were taken
Exactly.
for 2 markers. Like
Yeah.
we had inverse questions and 3D questions of really, which one you cannot solve it less than 5 to 6 lines of just, writing equations and everything. So is the board going to be like that too? Because half of us couldn't finish our paper because the 1 markers take so much time. If each 1 marker is taken as a 3 marker, it's very hard to finish the paper.
Yeah, I do understand, because this year the pattern has changed both for 10th as well as 12th. In the name of asking MCQs or multiple choice questions, more tough questions are being asked. So that is how it is going to be. and you have to mentally prepare yourself for it.
It's not about the MCQs, the subjective 1 markers.
The subjective 1 markers also, they are as long as the 3 markers.
Yes, ma'am. So how are you supposed to handle that? Because when you have so many 1 markers, which are actually 3 markers, it becomes very hard to finish the paper.
Yeah.
And like 5 markers are actually the 6 markers which used to come. 3 markers were actually the 4 and 5 markers. So everything together was becoming very long for all of us.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes, it is bad luck if people do not understand the mentality of children and such question papers are set. It does happen occasionally from time to time. It does happen that somebody...
But during the board, will they consider this? Like before, will they consider all this? For pre-boards, it's fine, but boards...
Yeah. See, one, let me tell you, pre-board, especially those set by Sahodaya, is generally tougher than your board exam, right? So generally, we try to keep it a little tough so that the preparation is better. And those children who are a little nervous or anything, they tend to put more time for preparation and you're able to do better. Generally, the board exam papers are not as tough as the pre-board. Don't tell that to your teachers because they may and shout at me because they are trying to prepare you for something difficult.
Yes.
No, this as a rule, because the board exam papers are set keeping in mind the average, the above average, and everybody, all kinds of students put together. So the percentage of difficult questions, the percentage of easy questions would be different from your Sahodaya paper or from your revision papers, what you're doing.
So when board paper is set, they do keep the time limit in consideration.
Yes, sir. What I advise you to do, Soumya, is do as many sample papers as possible. So sample papers will have different level questions, different kinds for the different sections. That will help you to time yourself for your 1 markers and for your 3 markers or whatever. And yes, sometimes it does happen that the 1 markers are more difficult than your 5 mark questions. They take up more time. So in standard this year, we have introduced, board has introduced the case study questions.
Correct, ma'am.
On which MCQs are there. The 10th standard students who are there would be able to understand. So the case study questions are actually, it looks very easy and very simple, especially in mathematics, where the multiple choice questions are given based on case study. It looks very simple, but it is not so simple. It requires quite a bit of working out. So you need to work out the problem before you can choose the right answer because all answers look the same. You feel that everything is right, but you need to work out. So that is why I said, plan your time for the different sections using the sample question papers. Enough and more sample papers are there on your CBSE website. So go to cbse.nic.in, click on whatever sample papers you want. Question banks are there. Go to each one of those. And if you have friends in neighboring schools, take their papers and work it out. Then you will be able to set your time accordingly. That is the only way you can come over this problem.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, Sridevi ma'am, this is one thing as a parent, this is what I have told my children to attend the 5 markers first and then come to the 1 marker. For the very reason, sometimes when they run short of time because of the lengthy 1 and 2 markers, some kids end up missing out even answering the 5 markers.
Yeah, it does happen at times, but you can take it, this is, again, an individual opinion. Children find I'm able to answer the 1 marker and 2 markers faster. So one hour I'm able to finish it. And I have 2 full hours for the 5 markers.
Right.
One mindset. So if there may be a set of students who feel that, let me get all the difficult things out of the way. I'll finish all the difficult ones, the 5 markers and everything. Then I can concentrate, I can relax and do the 1 marker. So it all depends on the students and their own mental setup. If I'm giving you sweets, 1 all pieces and 1 a full piece, there are children, who keep the broken piece aside, eat the full one, relish it, and then pop the other one, not powder to their mouth. On the other hand, there may be somebody who says, let me get rid of this powder first, it's easier to eat that first, and then relish this one slowly and eat.
Right. Okay.
The same example goes for answering the paper also.
Okay.
And whatever it is, ultimately stick to the time. Section A is only so many minutes I'm going to spend, that's all. I'm not going 1 minute beyond it. So within that, if I don't finish, I will keep it aside, move on to the next section, finish everything and come back to this. So once that discipline is formed, your time management becomes easier.
Ma'am,
Yes. Yes.
Ma'am, I am a 12th standard marketing student.
Yeah.
Ma'am, in the 5 marks and 6 marks, first it is asked about branding. We should write definition and then the points. What the question is asked.
I think your teachers would be a better judge of what you need to write for that. You can check it out with your teachers, Kushi, because I'm not much into marketing subjects. So I really do not want to misguide you here. So please check it out with your teachers. But a 5 marker will definitely ask for all the details that are there for, for that particular topic. So I suggest you go back to your class teachers, you go back to your subject teachers and check that out, Kushi.
Okay, ma'am, but we should write in the point wise, right? Not in the paragraph.
Yeah, a theory paper like that for a 5 marker, point wise, but wherever the points need to be elaborated, you need to elaborate it. You cannot dot on a point over there and leave it. You need to elaborate on each of the points, but putting it down definitely with bullet points or numbers would be helpful in a subject like marketing.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
If it is for 5 mark question or 4 mark question, like how many points should we write to gain the full marks?
See, it is for a 4 mark question, we expect at least 5 valid points. Which class are you in?
I am in 10th, ma'am. I'm going to appear in my boards.
Okay. Now for 10th standard, what we say is go by the word limit. Okay, I think for all your questions, answer in 30 words, answer in 50 words, answer in 100 words, you have the instructions given. In your handwriting, you know how many lines you need for 100 words. Supposing on an average, you're writing 6 words per line. So if it is a 100-word answer, you can go up to 120. So how many lines do you need? Let us say about 20 lines. So if you need around 20 lines, you know how much you have to write, how many points will fit into it. And when you are having your points, you know that for a 5 marks, as I told you, all the points that are required, important points should be there. Whereas for a 2 marker, not more than 3 important points would be required. So it all varies from topic to topic. So according to the topic, according to the question, according to the word limit, you need to plan how many words you have to write, how many points will have to be incorporated. And always remember the important points you start with. Then the minor points, you can put comma, 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 and finish it off. Within 1 line, you can finish it off. But the important points that you have to elaborate, give an entire paragraph for it if it is a 5 marker. In a 4 marks or a 5 marks, a long subjective type of answer, give more importance to all the crucial points. And then the rest of it, we can also say that these are the points, this one, comma, next, comma, next, comma. You can just list them out. It doesn't matter. So you have covered everything. It all depends on the topic, depends on the word limit given, and the number of points that you have been taught for that particular answer. If it is 2 marks, you may require only 2 or 3 points, because only for a 2 mark, we read only around 50 to 60 words. More than that, you cannot write. Okay.
Thank you so much,
Is it
ma'am.
necessary to write between the margins? Sorry.
I did not get you. I did not get
is
you.
It necessary to? Is it necessary to write between the margins?
Between
Are
the
you getting me?
Meaning, I did not get your point, sir.
Vertical line is on 2 sides.
Yeah, you will be given, the students would be given supplementary books, right? The books would be given, answer books would be given, booklet is given. And the booklet does not have a margin on the right side. If it has, then you have to write within that. Okay, the right side margin is only for the rough work. But from what
students tend to draw. Students tend to draw vertical lines on both sides.
No, not required.
Yes.
The left-hand margin is already there in your answer booklet. And on the right side, there is no margin unless it is a mathematics paper and you need to work out something. Otherwise, there is no need. And if you get a printed book with 2 margins on both sides, then write only between the margins. It is not given that.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, I have a question. May I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, you said about writing the question about 100 marks or 50 marks. What is the procedure of counting the words while writing the answer?
Yeah, you cannot exactly count the words. On an average, in your handwriting, in 1 line, you can write 6 words.
Okay.
7 words, 8 words, whatever. So you know on an average. Based on that, you calculate the number of lines required. That's it. Plus or minus 10 or 20 words.
But exactly we can't go for exact number
You cannot have an exact count. You cannot have an exact count. For 100 words, I say around 15 lines.
Okay.
100 words is around 15 lines. Plus or minus a few words here and there. That is how on an average we calculate. You cannot sit and count, yes, was, everything as a single word. It is not possible. On an average in your handwriting, how many words do you write in a line? So according to you need to calculate.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
It is only the lines that matter. And don't exceed the word limit or the line limit that you have set for yourself. Practice writing within that. That is important.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for the answer.
Welcome.